Yo guys, welcome back, it is Ripe again, back with episode 56 of our Reddit series, and today we have some special entitled mothers. These stories are gonna be from r/childfree, where EMs are called Mombees, aka mom zombies. So without any further ado, let's hop right in. Mombee thinks that friendly dog wants to hurt her baby. It's been a while since this incident took place, but I still get angry when I randomly remind myself of it. A Mombee was carrying her precious blessing into her arms, the kid being about 1 year old or so. She was walking in front of me down the street when a person coming from the front with a dog caught her attention. She quickly motioned to her child to look at the dog, saying something along the lines of, "Look, what a pretty dog," in a disgustingly screeching voice. Then she lowered herself a little and called out to the dog, "Oh, come here doggy, come see my baby." Something along these lines. Naturally, the dog, seeing the inviting gesture, started going towards her while wagging its tail in happiness. And then all shit went to hell. As the dog got closer, wanting to sniff the woman's leg or something, she suddenly yelled at the top of her lungs, "Oh my god, get the beast away, it almost bit my baby." The owner of the dog looks at her in shock, like what the F. She called the dog to herself, and when it moves towards her, she accuses it of something so outrageous. Luckily, there was nobody around that could have actually hurt her and think that something like that was actually happening. The Mombee then pointed at the owner and said, "This is a beast, you need to put it down, it wanted to viciously hurt my baby." The dog was now hiding behind the owner, who glared at the crazy lady, and I could not tell if she told her something quietly, but she took the poor dog and left in a hurry. Meanwhile, the crazed Mombee was still yelling about how her baby would have gotten murdered by that killer beast if it hadn't been for her maternal instinct to pull the kid away. So far, I've never seen an entitled mother treat an animal kindly. I really wonder why that is. A startling encounter with a Mombee Karen in my shop. So I have always been on the fence about having kids, but within the last few years realized it is definitely not for me. Quite a bit of experience working in education and childcare helped to assist that. There are some kids I love, a lot of kids I don't, much like their adult counterparts. Currently, I manage a very small high-end pet store. It's great because I love dogs, have a degree in wildlife and make way better money than I did at the local, horribly mismanaged zoo. And of course, in retail life, you get some entitled folks. Karens, if you will, and we all will. However, this was the first truly horrifying experience with a breeder and her accompanying goblins. We are about 30 minutes to close and I've been working for 9.5 hours at this point. I am ready to go home, but I see a car pull up and watch a lady get out and collect the dog from the back seat. Hooray, I think. Always nice to see a puppy at the end of a long day. But then the next creature she pulls out of the car is an approximately 6-year-old girl, followed by 2 more dogs, followed by another toddler, probably 4, and I was immediately less excited. The whole family walks in, 2 parents, 2 kids, 3 dogs. Their presence is immediately mayhem. Mom and dad have given control of one of the dogs to the 4-year-old, who's literally getting dragged across the store screaming. Mom and dad just laugh. "Yeah, he pulls," they call after her. The dog tucks her to the treat wall and immediately snacks a bone. I start to approach to try and help, but the parents catch up and grab the leash back. Okay, cool, maybe that's diffused for now. The daughters continue to be holy terrors. The 4-year-old is screaming incoherently about something, and the 6-year-old runs and skips and smacks into things like we are a playground. The parents are barely controlling the dogs, who are barking and trying to make a run for it. I am exhausted, wondering if I can let this play out until closing with no fatalities. But then another customer enters, a soft-spoken single guy with a clearly nervous Schnauzer puppy. Want to guess what happened next? If you said The daughters ran up screaming to whack at the dog without permission, you win a prize. The new customer is clearly uncomfortable, and to make matters worse, the 6-year-old manages to get a leash away from her parents and is again dragged by this dog to see the puppy, who is terrified. This dog leaps all over them with a handler who has zero control. At this point, finally, I approach the parents. "Would you mind if an adult held on to all the dogs, please?" I asked quietly. "Just because we have so many people and animals coming in and out, we need to make sure you have control over them. It's a safety concern." I've been going over this in my head, and sincerely, I was as respectful as humanly possible. They were putting other customers, and frankly their children, in danger. I've had a few people take issue with our animal rules before, but they all crumbled and listened. But not this Karen. She hiked up her sweatpants, snatched the leash from her daughter, and shrieked, "Fine, we will just leave then. We will go to another pet store with even more stringent leash rules than us. We will be supporting another local business." At which point, she begins to stomp out. Her husband, who has been completely checked out this entire time, lingers. "Let's go!" Karen screams at Mr. Karen. Taking his time, clearly unsure of what happened, Mr. Karen meanders to the door and they all leave. I am staring after them, open-mouthed, literally speechless, because I've never had that insane of a reaction over a polite safety request. But it's overall a happy ending, since the previously horrified customer is now relaxed and able to shop at his leisure. His puppy was adorably behaved and he spent loads of money that he undoubtedly wouldn't have if this nightmare family had been allowed to roam unchecked and scared him and his dog away. I am still waiting for the 1-star review of my shop shrieking about our hatred of kids, but you know what? Bring it. I know you're miserable with a horde of children and animals and barely conscious husband, but that was your choice. And my choice will always be prioritizing safety over your crotch goblin's constant tantrums. Sorry, not sorry. We have plenty of parents who come in the shop who understand the need to actually, parent, and they are welcome. By all means, boycott us, make my year. For someone like me who's terribly afraid of large dogs, that would have been a nightmare. But honestly, I still feel bad for those dogs. My first Sunday off in months was ruined by a Mombee and her brats. I work all day, 12 hours, Sunday, every Sunday. Since I go to school Monday to Thursday, I usually have to work Friday, Saturday and Sunday to make at least 30 hours, which is how much I need to afford rent, bills, etc. Luckily, I just finished school for the semester and was able to switch shifts with a coworker who wanted me to take her Wednesday in exchange for my Sunday. My boyfriend's only day off is Sunday, so we were excited. We slept in, had great morning sex and slowly made our way across town to a friend's house. Him and his girlfriend invited me and my boyfriend over for a barbecue. His pit bull puppy is best friends with our lab puppy, so they played while he made us frozen margaritas and got the meat smoking. 2 margaritas and a plate of hot dogs later, we are sitting on the couch waiting for the burgers and cheese-stuffed bacon, wrapped jalapenos poppers to be done. We were several bowls in as well by this point, so everyone was stoned, drunk and having a great time. The girlfriend's kids, 18 and 23 years old, were also on the way and we were waiting on them to continue stuffing our faces. Tell me why I'm sitting on the couch ass and titties out. It's hot as sin here in Texas right now, so I was wearing jean cutoffs and a tank top with no bra. Literally hitting the pipe when the doorbell rings and in comes a damn 4-year-old? Cue Mombee, aka EM, of the day and her 4 effing kids who all come into the house and start immediately being annoying. A 12-year-old girl and then 3 boys all under the age of 8. Apparently, she's an ex of his from 20 years ago and they are still friends and she brought her kids over. Not his kids, mind you, as a surprise. Immediately, they load up plates and make a huge mess, not even eating most of their food, just messing it up. They are loud, obnoxious, screeching, and running around bumping into people and not listening to a word their mom says. The oldest girl was okay, but she was still trying to talk to anyone who would listen so she could get attention. Every time they would do something stupid, their mom would just scream at them but not actually do anything to stop them, too busy on her phone. And of course, they did not listen. One of the younger kids screamed and freaked out when my puppy ran up to him just to sniff him and started crying to me that he tried to get me. Then his brother went into the backyard with the dogs and somehow could not open the door to let himself back in. He started banging on the door and screaming, which of course got the dogs riled up and they started jumping around him. Finally, someone let him in and the dogs were going crazy, barking up a storm, and he was crying and screaming, "They were going to kill me!" She then proceeded to stay for 2 effing hours and everyone was so exhausted by the kids that our energy died and me and my boyfriend fell asleep on the couch. It killed the whole mood and my friend's girlfriend, who was really irritated by this whole thing as well, ended up just telling her kids not to come. I have many questions after this whole thing. How are you going to walk into the weed man's house where people are obviously drinking and smoking and then make us all stop doing those things because it's incredibly uncomfortable doing that stuff in front of kids? Then proceed to let your kids have a free-for-all on our food and he had to go back to the store to replace the food they messed up so there would still be enough. Moreover, then stay for 2 hours letting your kids act like fools. On top of that, the 4-year-old was effing sick and coughing, mouth open, all over the place. His girlfriend was so effing mad, she had me and my boyfriend come smoke a blunt outside with her so she would not get homicidal. I don't get how people don't understand how rude this is. Like, did she seriously not understand it's not appropriate to bring your toddlers to an adult party where there's drugs and alcohol? And she had the balls to give me and my boyfriend dirty looks when we would say a cuss word or something. I get so irritated and drained by kids and I cannot believe my first Sunday off in months was ruined by them. Wait, let me get this right. So the EM, aka the Mombee, actually brought her kids to a drug dealer and then proceeded to eat all their food, as well as ruining their evening. Also on a side note, I've actually used this subreddit before, so it's not completely new. But let's continue on. My first job at an indoor water park. Obviously, we had to deal with a lot of children and their very entitled parents. The worst incident I was involved in was during one of my last shifts before I moved off to college. At this point, I'm totally over this job and all the screaming, wet children. That day, I was working the ticket register and you measured people's kids and gave them the appropriate colored wristbands so the lifeguards could quickly tell if someone was not tall enough for a particular ride. I sold passes to a father and son who was just under the main height requirement. We were always supposed to err on the side of caution because it's a massive liability issue. I already knew I would be dealing with some blowback from the father before the end of my shift. Couple hours pass and the dad is back at my counter fuming mad. He told me that I was a racist because he had seen a white boy the exact same height as my son with a different colored wristband. This takes me completely off guard because what a ridiculous thing to accuse me of. I am not maliciously using my shitty first job to screw with non-white children. I'm one of those people that tends to awkwardly laugh when I feel uncomfortable, and yeah, let's just say that was a big mistake. He completely blew up. We had to get the lifeguard manager involved, and to this day I do not understand why she did this. She went out into the water park, found the white kid he was talking about and remeasured both children. Totally bizarre that she would involve the other child. She ended up giving that kid the better wristband to appease the raging dad. I was told I did my job correctly and by their standards he was under, but no manager felt like dealing with it anymore. I've never wanted children, but my experiences at that water park solidified that belief forever. It's crazy how entitled parents again and again willingly endanger their own child just to get what they want. Mombee, a nice kid at Vivid Sydney. So Sydney, Australia has an event on called Vivid. It involves a ton of colorful lights all around the foreshore, art installations, etc. and is a wonderful event for all ages. My mom, 50s, and I, 25, went to the Taronga Zoo display, which is one of the few parts of Vivid you have to pay to see, and the number of entitled parents pissed me off. You see, all these wonderful lit up sculptures and displays are begging to be photographed. They really go all out at the zoo and everyone is taking photos, selfies and having a great time until the Mombees show up. It's common sense to wait 5 seconds until someone has taken a photo before walking in front of them, especially if they are getting a photo of someone else with the lights. It's also common sense to wait until someone finished taking the photo before pushing an overtired or sugar-hyped child next to them and whipping out a phone. As we all know, a lot of Mombees lack common sense. The one I will never forget is the child with more sense than his mother. My mom and I had stopped in front of the sea dragon, which was undulating dark blue and black with red highlights on its edges. It was a dark sculpture, but we both loved it and wanted a picture with it. Being a dark sculpture at night meant we needed extra effort to get the camera to focus and not blur with small hand motions. So it was taking a few moments to get ready. We had started this process when there was one of those random breaks in the crowd, and when people filtered by, everyone seemed fine to go around us while we tried to get the photo. Then I heard a voice beside me saying, "Go stand in front of that one." I had nearly gotten everything perfect, so I tried to hurry up to get the photo before it was ruined. I got the shot and was expecting to find a kid's head in the corner that I would need to crop out later. Instead, I heard, "No mom, they are taking a photo." I quickly got a couple more photos in as the mother said something along the lines of, "It doesn't matter, go on." I was done by then, so turned to the kid, 7 to 12 I guess, I don't know, I suck at guessing ages, and thanked him, fully ignoring his mother. She gave me a filthy look, but I did not care. Her kid had more courtesy than most of the parents there. I truly believe some people lose all their manners when they become parents, and they think the whole world revolves around them and their children. I love spending time with my mom, and I love going to adult-only events or late night entertainment with my friends. And seeing the parents at Vivid losing the chance to enjoy themselves made me feel sorry for them. Honestly, I don't think many of the parents actually enjoyed themselves that night, and it's a pity because the display was gorgeous, but they had to entertain their kids instead of taking the time to really look at anything and have a nice night. You know, I really enjoyed these stories where the kid has better manners than the Mombee, aka EM. Sadly, most of the time, when there's an EM, there's also an EK. Alright guys, that was all the content I have for you today. As I said, this was not r/EntitledParents or people, but instead this was r/childfree, which does indeed have a lot of good entitled parent stories. So please tell me in the comments what you think of this subreddit, and I hope you have a great day and I see you tomorrow. Oh, and also don't forget to check out my Pro Revenge video, which I uploaded around 5 hours ago.